It looks like Concord is officially joining the ranks of countless other live service flops. The hero shooter never had a chance in hell.
How bad is it? You're still mad at me?
Firewalk Studios game director Ryan Ellis announced in a September 3, 2024 PlayStation blog post that the game is being taken offline on September 6th. When all is said and done, Concord will only have been fully live for 2 weeks. We knew that the initial Concord launch was a disaster, but it's still shocking to see just how quickly the plug is being pulled. Explaining the situation, Ellis wrote, "While many qualities of the experience resonated with players, we also recognize that other aspects of the game and our initial launch didn't land the way we'd intended." Ellis revealed that sales for the game have already been halted, and Sony will be issuing refunds to anyone who purchased Concord, though the refund process will vary depending on the platform. Firewalk Studios and Sony were no doubt hoping the game would get a warmer reception, but just about everything that could have gone wrong with Concord did. Despite spending years in development, the game arguably wasn't really set up to succeed. When the first trailer dropped in June 2024, everyone said that Concord looked weirdly underbaked, and there weren't many people excited by the idea of a new hero shooter in a crowded market. Concord deserved better than it got, but its failure is part of an ongoing trend that says a lot about the live service space right now.
I am glad you avoided a dishonorable death.
The cinematic trailer for Concord didn't get people terribly excited, and that's partly because the game's story didn't really seem to match with the actual gameplay. Gamers took note of the Guardians of the Galaxy vibes in the trailer, but players argued that they didn't get a sense of who the characters actually were in the full game. And the mechanic of constantly rotating player characters didn't help much. A much bigger issue for gamers, however, was the price point. In a space dominated by games like Overwatch, Apex Legends, and other free-to-play titles, $40 was a bridge too far for some players. Making matters worse, players also had to jump through some extra hoops to play the game. PlayStation Network account holders playing on PS5 could just grab the game from the PlayStation Store and go. But anyone playing on PC had to set up a PSN account and link it to Steam or the Epic Store. Sony tried the same tactic with Helldivers 2, and players revolted so hard that the company had to reverse course and apologize. And that game still took a huge hit in terms of player engagement. Concord launched with a PSN requirement, which didn't win the game any extra support.
That was not the plan.
Leading up to the game's official launch, Concord ran into some more stumbling blocks. A beta testing period ran from July 18th to the 21st, which was a quick turnaround from the announcement trailer. Players who heard about the beta in time were forced to jump through the same aforementioned PSN hoops, which might help to explain why barely more than 2,000 players showed up. Even though some players jumped on Reddit and X to express support for the game, early adopters admitted that it did have some serious flaws, including derivative gameplay that didn't add much new to the genre. When professional reviewers got their hands on the game, they said pretty much the same thing. Concord currently has a 62 on Metacritic, which just isn't strong enough to move the needle in an extremely competitive genre. Ultimately, what gamers were hearing from beta players and professional reviewers wasn't enough to get them to show up for Concord when the game actually launched. Unfortunately, the final straw for Concord was the game's actual launch. The poor word of mouth and apathetic fan response to the initial trailer finally caught up with the game, which had an abysmally low concurrent player in its first week. On Steam, the game peaked at a shocking 697 players, meaning that significantly fewer than half of the people who showed up for the beta checked out the final version of the game. Those numbers would be bad for a free-to-play game, but they're even worse for a game priced at $40. Concord has reportedly made $1 million, which is like a drop in the ocean compared to the budget a AAA multiplayer game like this requires. And according to Forbes, the game may have cost around $100 million to develop. It's an uphill battle for any live service game to become really popular, and Sony apparently saw the writing on the wall here and decided to take the loss rather than keep the game on life support.
We were apart for so long.